Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Cycle Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. The federal government has reassured Nigerians and the international community that the country remains safe for residents and visitors, even as the United States ordered the evacuation of non-emergency staff and their families from its embassy in Abuja, while the U.S. cited security concerns across 23 states. The federal government on Thursday insisted that Nigeria continues to maintain a stable security environment and urged citizens to remain calm. The U.S. Department of State had authorized the departure of non-emergency government employees and their family members from the U.S. Embassy in Abuja, citing a deteriorating security situation across the country. A tightening security dragnet is unfolding across the Federal Capital Territory as FCT Police Command has launched an aggressive operation in Buhari and surrounding border communities, targeting kidnapping syndicates and criminal hideouts. Kikelomo Okere has the details.
It was a high-level operational sweep led by the Commissioner of Police, FCT Command, Mohammed Sanusi, and the officers moved through strategic location in Buhari Area Council in a coordinated push to dismantle criminal networks operating along border communities. The operation began at the palace of Sarki Buhari, where traditional leaders were engaged and their support sought for ongoing security offensive. From there, the team proceed to the palace of Isua Buaya, securing access for intensified forest patrols area believed to harbor kidnappers and armed groups. At Zuma, the commissioner assessed troops deployment, reinforcing a strong security presence in key flashpoints. The operation took a decisive turn at Gidan Dogo. 3 suspected kidnappers were arrested in connection with the abduction of 21 persons in Paze community, Biazin Axis. CP Sanusi says the arrest followed a coordinated intelligence-led operation that also led to the rescue of the victims.
City and the Niger and Kaduna State. This is a place that has been infested by bandits and some banditry activities before now. God being on our side, we've been able to tame them to a very large extent.
One of the victims described the ordeal as traumatic, expressing relief and gratitude for his rescue.
We made deployments and started operations since yesterday, and as God will have it, we have achieved some successes, some victories, by arresting some of the bandits and their informants.
While addressing the journalists, the Commissioner of Police confirmed strategic deployment across Buhari, noting that personnel have been positioned to respond swiftly and prevent further attacks. The tour extended through Garam in Niger State, with on-the-spot security assessment before concluding at the Nigerian Law School, Buhari. The FCT Police Command says the operation is part of a wider strategy to disrupt criminal networks, strengthen interagency coordinations, and restore confidence in border communities. Kikelomo Okere, Global Television News.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian police force has debunked a viral video circulating on social media alleging an ongoing terrorist attack in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. A force public relations officer, DCP Anthony Placid, while making the statement on Friday, said the force states unequivocally that no such incident occurred, and that claims contained in the video are entirely false, misleading, and malicious. The police stated that preliminary investigation revealed that the wide was deliberately curated using misleading footage sourced from online platforms to construct a false narrative aimed at causing panic, inciting public fear and undermining public confidence in the security architecture of the nation's capital. A coalition of retired senior police officers has fixed Monday, April 13, for a major peaceful protest at the presidential villa, demanding their exit from the contributory pension scheme, that is CPS, operating under the aegis of the Association of Retired Police Officers on that scheme. They said the demonstration would continue until President Bola Ahmed Tinubu assent to pending bills seeking their withdrawal from the scheme. Last month, the National Assembly transmitted the bill seeking the exit of the police from the controversial scheme, following years of agitation from retirees who lamented their impoverishment under the CPS after decades of selfless service for the country. The new direction for the Nigerian movement, that is NEDMO, has called on President Bola Tinubu to expedite the arrest and prosecution of individuals sponsoring terrorism and banditry. The convener of the movement, Mark Adebayo, made the call at a press conference in Abuja while reacting to the killing of soldiers in a recent attack in Benishek, Borno State. Global TV correspondent has details. Addressing journalists in Abuja, the convener of the movement, Mark Adebayo, described the death of Brigadier Commander Brigadier General Hussein Ibrahimo and other troops as painful loss, and extended condolences to the Nigerian Armed Forces. The NEDMO convener praised the courage and sacrifice of the military, noting their resilience despite the challenges of asymmetric warfare. He stressed that bringing terror sponsors to justice would strengthen efforts to curb insecurity.
Direction for Nigerian Movement, NEDMO, wishes to commiserate with the Nigerian Armed Forces on the loss of some of our heroic soldiers in the Banishik, Borno State, yesterday, April 9, 2026, including the Brigade Commander, Brigadier General Hussein Ibrahima. Owe it a duty to your oath of office and as the one on whose table the buck stops, to get these enemies of our country exposed, arrested, prosecuted, and punished to the full extent of the law.
Adebayo also urged Nigerians to support the armed forces in confronting threats to national peace and stability. Ramsey Enoch Agbo, Global TV News. The leadership crisis rocking the African Democratic Congress (ADC) has shown no sign of abating as internal wrangling and legal hurdles have stalled the state congresses scheduled for Saturday, April 11, 2026. The crisis, which has since fragmented the party into three camps, led by former Senate President David Mark, Nafiu Gombe, and a bloc spearheaded by some state ADC chairmen, led to the recent deregistration and recognition of the Mark-led National Working Committee by the Independent National Electoral Commission, while some states have announced the suspension of their congresses. A few states have vowed to proceed with the election ahead of the party's convention. Meanwhile, civil society organizations in defense of democracy and rule of law in Nigeria have staged a peaceful walk in support of the Independent National Electoral Commission, that is INEC, praising its adherence to constitutional governance. Uyi Agbomofuebe has details.
Speaking on behalf of the coalition, spokesperson Comrade Mike Femi commended the Commission's commitment to the rule of law, urging political actors to conduct their affairs within the ambit of the Constitution. The coalition also addressed the leadership disputes within the African Democratic Congress (ADC), insisting that only constitutionally recognized structures should be upheld, while rejecting the David Mark-led faction as unconstitutional. Comrade Femi called on all parties involved in the disputes to respect judicial pronouncements and follow due process in resolving internal party issues.
We affirm our support for the rule of law as the cornerstone of our democracy. Number two, call on all political actors to respect the judiciary, pronouncements, and constitutional provisions.
Responding on behalf of the INEC chairman, National Commissioner Abdullahi Abduzuru assured Nigerians of the Commission's readiness to conduct free, fair, transparent, and credible polls in the 2027 general elections. He noted that INEC would continue to operate strictly in line with the rule of law and democratic principles.
On behalf of the chairman of INEC, so thank you for this very calm approach, and to assure you and assure Nigerians that the Commission will always do what is right for our democracy.
The coalition reaffirmed its confidence in the electoral body, urging citizens and political stakeholders to remain peaceful and law-abiding as the country prepares for the next general elections. Uyi Agmofwegbe reporting for Global TV News.
In a related development, the Federal High Court in Abuja has fixed April 14 to hear a suit challenging the leadership of the African Democratic Congress. The case, filed by Nafiu Bala Gombe, seeks to stop a faction led by David Mark from parading itself as the party's leadership. The development follows a Court of Appeal ruling directing parties to maintain their status quo, while Independent National Electoral Commission recently removed the name of Mark and Rauf Aregbesola from its record. In the meantime, the Nigerian Bar Association has warned that it will take disciplinary action against lawyers who institute court cases aimed at drawing the judiciary into internal dispute within political parties. In a statement released amid ongoing factional and leadership crisis in the coalition-backed African Democratic Congress ADC, the association expressed concern over what it described as a growing trend of legal practitioners and courts becoming entangled in intra-party matters despite clear provision of the law. The association noted that the law explicitly bars court from entertaining cases relating to internal affairs of political parties, citing Section 83 of the Electoral Act 2026. The federal government has launched a nationwide learner identification number system, issuing digital IDs to over 1.9 million candidates registered for the 2026 examinations conducted by the West African Examination Council and the National Examinations Council. In a statement signed by the ministry's Director of Press and Public Relations, Boroyo Folashade, the government said the system is aimed at ensuring that every Nigerian's child has access to structured and verifiable educational records. The initiative, announced by the Federal Ministry of Education, is designed to assign every student a permanent and traceable academic identity to support learning continuity, improve education planning, and enable timely intervention in the education system. Meanwhile, the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board has announced the opening of examination slip printing for candidates registered for the 2026 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination. JAMB made the announcement urging candidates to visit its website to download their slips ahead of the examination. The board noted that the slip is mandatory for access to the examination hall. You're watching the live broadcast of News Cycle. News Cycle continues after the weather forecast, plus business, foreign and sports stories on the other sides of this break. Please stay with us. Welcome back from that break. Now let's take you to the world of business, where the federal government has approved the rollout of biometric passenger identity verification system known as VPAS across domestic airports in Nigeria to enhance security and improve passenger identification. The disclosure was made by the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, in a statement issued by his spokesperson. The minister said the initiative is part of broader reforms aimed at strengthening transparency, accountability, and operational efficiency within the country's aviation sector, while addressing existing loopholes in passenger verification processes. The federal government has inaugurated a technical committee to review a proposal of $200 billion integrated gas, power and high-speed rail project submitted by the Sadel Nigeria Limited. The disclosure was contained in a statement issued by the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. The proposal outlines a multi-phase infrastructure initiative combining gas development, power generation and transmission, alongside a 4,000-kilometer high-speed rail network. Meanwhile, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited says recent reform in the oil and gas sector have unlocked over $24 billion in fresh investment, with an additional $10 billion currently in the pipeline, as the country intensifies efforts to achieve its 3 million barrels per day production target. The Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPC Limited, Bayo Ojulari, disclosed this at the 2026 Olubori Lecture and Energy Forum held in Abuja, where industry leaders converge to chart the future of Nigeria's upstream sector. The lecture, in its 26th edition, was themed beyond the 3 million barrels target, harmonizing digitalization, capital and policy frameworks for intelligence operation and asset optimization, organized by the Society of Petroleum Engineers, that is OLEF, gathered policymakers, industry leaders and academics to foster innovation and growth. And on the foreign scene, Osman Senko has criticized Donald Trump over the ongoing U.S.-Israel conflict with Iran, accusing him of destabilizing the global order. Speaking at an international conference in Dakar, Senko said the war has failed to achieve its key objective, while plunging the world into unnecessary chaos. He also called for greater unity among African nations and urged the continent to enhance the strength of its youth in pursuing sovereignty and global influence. The United Nations has condemned a deadly drone strike on civilians in Sudan, calling for an immediate end to attack on non-combatants. Spokesperson Stephen Dujarric said the strike hit a wedding in North Darfur, killing more than 30 people, including women and children. The UN described drone attack on civilians as unacceptable, as fighting between the army and rapid support forces continue to escalate. Taiwan's opposition leader, Cheng Liwen, has met with Xi Jinping in Beijing, where both leaders expressed opposition to Taiwan independence and called for a peaceful resolution to cross-strait tension. The meeting marks the highest level contact between Beijing and the Taiwanese opposition figure in recent years. Cheng urged leaders on both sides to move beyond political confrontation and pursue dialogue. A new political storm is brewing in the United States as First Lady Melania Trump moved to firmly distance herself from renewed controversy surrounding the late Jeffrey Epstein. Her unprecedented remarks have once again brought the long-running scandal back into public focus. Zarauna Nasir reports.
In a surprise intervention at the White House, United States First Lady Melania Trump issued a categorical denial of any association with Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier whose crimes continue to cast a long shadow over American politics. The statement comes without prior briefing and at a time when public attention had begun shifting away from the Epstein case. Her remarks immediately reignited scrutiny over past social connections with elite circles, where images of Epstein with high-profile figures, including the Trump couple, have previously surfaced.
Numerous fake images and statements about Epstein and me have been circulating on social media for years now. Be cautious about what you believe. These images and stories are completely false.
Melania Trump also called for a greater transparency, urging Congress to hold a public hearing where survivors of Epstein abuse can testify under oath.
I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing specifically centered around the survivors.
Jeffrey Epstein died in federal custody in 2019 while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges involving minors, but his case continues to generate political and public debate in the United States. The U.S. Justice Department has in recent months released additional files linked to the investigation, while President Donald Trump has repeatedly denied any connection to Epstein's criminal activities. Zahra Nasir, reporting for Global TV News.
Now to the weather spot. The Darts Regulation Authority has announced an immediate ban on transgender women competing in women's darts events, following the completion of a review of its trans and gender diverse policy. In a statement, the authority emphasized that it seeks to be inclusive, but concluded that changes were necessary to maintain fairness in competition. Under the updated rule, the authority stated that only biological females should be eligible to compete in women's tournaments, regulated by DRA rules. The Nigeria's Football Federation has appointed former international Joy Jegede Idako and Aibewi Omadige as assistant coaches of the Flamingos. Another ex-international, Kola Ige, will serve as goalkeeper trainer under new head coach, Akim Bosari. Bosari, who recently replaced Bankole Oluokere, has invited 36 players ahead of the team's 2026 FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup qualifiers against either Niger Republic or Guinea. And that's it on News Cycle. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and StarTimes channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen using @Global TV NG. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Thanks for watching.